Hey everybody, it's Sean Delaney at Delaney and Sons. Hope everyone's doing well. We're joined today, obviously, by JP Daeschler, the Managing Director of Dickson and Son. Hey JP, how's it going?
Hey Sean, yeah, very well. Well, I think it's good. Well, it's lunchtime for you, but it's a good evening from me.
Well, thanks for taking the time. Everyone who's watching, I met JP and his wife Zoe at Southern last year. So just over a year ago, and he was very helpful, very informative. I've been a fan of Dickson guns for ages, and he helped me pick out a vintage gun. So I now am the custodian of a round action. Let's see, what's the number? Number 4658. It was made in 1894, and JP was really helpful in helping me make that decision. And there were a couple different guns that we were looking at, and since then we've really become fast friends. We run shoots in the UK, and we've met with JP and Zoe at the Dickson factory. I had a tour of the workshop with our guests. Went shooting right next door for Clay's. He's come and met with the people and put on presentations at our hotel. He's visited us in Wales. He's actually been on one of the shoots. People got to try out the modern Dickson round action and the McNaughton round action in the flesh. So, and we've been, talking back and forth. And I'm now a member of the Dickson Owners Club, and we thought it would be a good idea to try to get people together and give them the opportunity to ask questions of the guy who makes it happen. So, thanks, JP.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Sean. Couple of things there. Obviously, I'm pretty passionate about Dickson's, but it's not just about the current company and the company going forward. Oh, I appreciate your coffee mug there. Very good. For me, I'm very passionate about Dickson's and the history of the company and supporting the people that own, vintage classic Dickson guns, guns, rifles, round actions, whatever. I have a real enthusiasm for connecting people with them. So, it was part of starting the Dickson Owners Club. We as I had mentioned in an interview I had with your dear wife Liz some weeks ago at the virtual Southern, that owning a Dickson gun is quite a cherished and rare thing. We've only produced 6,500 guns, rifles, pistols in the last 200 years. So you have something pretty unique. And if you own a round action, which we're well known for, it's even more unique, where we produce less than 2,000 of those guns to date. So you're the member of something quite exclusive. And I wanted to ensure that we connect with those people that own those classic and vintage guns, and we look after them. Perhaps, certainly in a better way that perhaps they've been looked after in the past. So that's the whole idea behind the Dickson's Club and Owners Club, and why we're having this cool interview today.
Well, we've already got a couple questions, and we've had some that have been coming in throughout the week. And anyone can send questions. We'll put them up on the screen and see if we can talk about it. The first one is diving way into esoterica immediately, and it's from Rick in Arizona, asking about the Dickson single trigger. And Rick has a Dickson single trigger. Just wanted some more information about it.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So the Dickson single trigger was introduced in 1910. It's the patent single trigger. It was actually designed by a guy called William Morrison, who was working in Dickson's workshop. And they needed a new single trigger. Certainly it was the fashion. People were asking about single triggers to fit in their round action. The round action design is very compact and very small, and they needed something that could fit comfortably in there. Dickson's had offered the single trigger on their round action guns as a Wesley single trigger or the Boss single trigger in small numbers, but they decided they wanted to build their own single trigger, which they did in 1910. The first gun The first round action to feature that single trigger was built in August 1911. And the very few were produced. I think around about 43 round actions, according to the records, have a Dickson single trigger fitted to the gun. Now, the single trigger is mechanical, it's not inertia operated. So there's a few moving parts and springs, but it has an intercepting sear in it as well, so to avoid a double discharge. So when the right barrel is fired, the left barrel can't be operated. Quite a clever and ingenious thing, but you know, Dickson's offered it. It was quite an expensive addition, but most people ordered their guns with double triggers, and I think it finally fell out of the catalog in about 1940 as an option. But as I said, according to the records, we're looking at about maybe 42, 43 guns fitted with a single trigger. There may be one or two more out there with the Dickson single trigger that weren't in the records, but you know, we can only speculate. I've actually got a picture there, Sean, if you want to see it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to share my screen. If you could click on that and see if we can get that up. Yeah, let me know if you can see it.
Got it.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on in there. You know, the conventional Dickson trigger plate, but now with the addition of this rocker slide single trigger system. But that's the original patent from 1910, filed by William Morrison and John Dickson. I think William Morrison designed it and John Dickson paid for the patent. Yeah. He gets all the credit.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Next question. This is from a gentleman named John in Illinois. He is Dickson number 2824. His question is, can you say anything about the guns made by Dickson before the round action came out, and speaks highly of the quality of his gun.
Okay. Okay, Dickson has always been a first-class gun maker, only a best gun and rifle maker since 1820. I know we talk a lot about the round action, and it's easy to forget about all the other stuff that was built before the round action arrived in 1880. Time of breech loading firearms. You know, Dickson followed the trend in the 1860s to move to breech loading pin fire, then center fire hammer guns. And of course, as Dickson only offered best guns in those configurations, they were absolutely superb, beautiful pieces of kit. John's gun 2824, I know I had a quick look at the records, and I've actually got, I think I can find something here. Again, Sean, if you don't mind sharing a screen, let me just see what I can do here. No, so Sean, you should have a photo there.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so that is in fact the gun we're talking about, 2824, breech loading hammer gun. It was actually built as a pin fire gun, and obviously been converted to central fire at a later date. And it's been a lovely conversion with the noseless hammers. Jones rotary underlever, beautiful 30-inch Damascus barrels. And you know, this was the epitome. This was the best gun you could buy from Dickson's in the late 1860s, early 1870s. This gun actually dates from 1871.
It's beautiful.
I've got, and there we have the original record for it. Hopefully you can see that, if you could just let me know.
Yes, we can.
So 30th of August, 1871, double breech loader pin, being a pin fire, 2824 gauge is 12. All the dimensions of the stock, the weight of the gun is 7 pounds 2 ounces. Length of barrels 30 inches, rib 3/8, detached locks, meaning it's a bar action lock, and the stock unvarnished, so it would have been an oil finish stock instead of just being the sort of standard varnish. But that is an extract from the original ledger.
That's great. And you have all the records going back for all the guns for people?
We do indeed. So we have two sets we have two sets of volumes, and we have the order book. So when the gentleman came into the shop and he ordered his gun, we have the order book, and obviously the serial number was not allocated at that time. And then we have effectively the workshop ledger outbook, which is the extract that I just showed you. And that is where the serial number is issued to the gun during the build and the date that it left the workshop. So we have the date it was ordered and the date that it left.
That's great. So if anyone wants information, I'm sure they can reach out to JP directly.
Yeah, absolutely. On our webpage, you'll find a link, which is, find out my gun's history. Just click on the link. Provide the serial number, and we'll see what we've got in terms of records. Some guns have a little bit of information, some have a whole ton, and some have some interesting provenance too. I know, for example, your gun has a pretty good story to it, and very good links and connections to Scotland. So I love researching them and looking at them. And there is the odd gun that we can't find a record for, and that's typically war guns. So guns built in the First World War and Second World War. The records are a little bit poor, and some things weren't filled in. Clerical error, not filled in correctly, but it is what it is. Sure.
Now, I had a friend who ordered a gun from one of the London makers, and there was another client who wanted specific serial numbers for a pair that he had ordered. And so my friend thought he was getting gun X. I mean, he got the gun that he ordered. It had a different serial number, and it was real trouble getting all the paperwork done for him to then go shooting in Great Britain because the serial numbers didn't match what the Holland said it was going to be. So there was some head scratching at Heathrow.
We have looking through the records. So we have the physical records, which we try not to handle. They are historical documents. Some of those books are 150 years old. So we keep them locked away. We have the records for Alexander Henry and also James McNaughton in a similar sort of guise. We have the Dickson records all digitized now, so that's how I'm able to navigate them very quickly and find the information. And it also means we don't have to thumb through these beautiful old ledgers. What I've found is there are one or two guns that have been issued the same serial number. I think maybe, the gun was built and the number was issued, and somewhere, again, another clerical error, it's not been noted down correctly. And we'll find another gun with the same serial number. One particular one, which is quite interesting, is a lovely round action that was built in the 1930s. And I came across the serial number and realized, oh, hang on, we've got the same serial number already, a few pages later. And in order to correct it, they just put a 0 in front of it. To make it, all Dickson serial numbers are 4 digits. They just put a 0, leading 0 in front of it to correct it, but it's 04159 and 4159, something like that. So, yeah, again, another little mistake. I'm sure someone got a slap on the wrist for that. I believe John Dickson and his sons were very real sticklers for details, so I'm sure someone got into some trouble for that.
I'm sure. All right, we've got another question in actually from England, from Surrey. I know this is a big issue now, but what does the lead shot ban in the UK mean for our older guns? I understand it's voluntary, but it's coming. So what do you think on that subject?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that are not too close to this subject, and I know you covered it very well with Diggory Haydock in your interview back in the Virtual Southern, is that the major shooting and conservation companies or organizations, should I say, announced in February of this year that there was going to be a voluntary ban on lead in sporting guns for shooting game. Not clay guns, but sporting guns. This would take place over 5 years. So we're looking to voluntarily exit out of lead in our guns by 2025. Now, obviously, our alternatives are the current bismuth alternative, and there are some other alternative lead shot alternatives being developed at the moment. But then naturally, everyone is looking at steel, and steel has obviously been used in hunting and guns for a number of years. I know in the US, and starting to use it for the wildfowling here as well. When that announcement came in February, it came as quite a shock. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. I had numerous emails from Dickson owners of classic vintage Dickson guns going, what am I going to do with my gun? Is my gun finished? You know, it can't shoot steel. Am I going to, you know, is it going to devalue it? Is it junk? What are we going to do? So I have told everyone to just calm down a little bit, and we need to look at this sensibly. It is voluntary, so yes, we're looking at a change or a withdrawal within the next 5 years. Completely voluntary, so this season coming, you're under no pressure to shoot anything but lead. But immediately we need to put some solutions in place for these vintage guns. Our new guns and our new rebarreled or new barreled guns are all steel proof anyway, so no issue there. But you know, what are our alternatives? So immediately you can look at a lead alternative, which for us and what we sell by the majority here in the UK is the bismuth shot. The only drawback on that is obviously the cost. It's a very, very expensive substitute alternative, but I do firmly believe that you know, with more interest in the material, interest in alternative materials, you know, we should see that price come down eventually. It's like anything else. When we removed lead from gasoline, we had the same rebellion, and slowly things sort of came back to an operating normal, which is great for everybody. It also means that, you know, guns will still pass a steel proof or reproof to shoot steel. There are some challenges with that, so you know, we need to inspect a gun and look at its jointing, look at its wall thickness, look at its current proof designation, and look at its chokes. And perhaps with some alterations there, a gun can be submitted for steel proof. The challenges with that, with the older guns, is they do have jointing problems. They tend to have thinner wall thickness in the tubes, and you know, the tighter chokes, which we can obviously relieve. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. To prove the point, I have 2 vintage Dickson guns going through steel proof now. I've submitted them knowing that they will more than likely pass. I've got a Dickson box lock, I've got a Dickson round action going through, and you know, we should have some positive results with those. Like I said, it's going to be a case-by-case basis on the vintage guns if that's what you want to do. If you save your Dickson classic vintage Dickson gun or any other make for a rainy day, then shooting bismuth is hopefully not going to be too cost ineffective for you, and you'll still be able to enjoy your gun without going through the reproof process. So it is a minefield. It's going to be tricky to navigate, but you know, we'll get there in the end. It was going to happen.
Well, and the other thing that I've always, you know, all the estates where we shoot require fiber wads. So then you move to steel and you can't use fiber wads. So then you're throwing shot cups all over the countryside. But I understand that Ely's come out with a water degradable shot cup that if you put it in, I read an article Shooting Sportsman on it last month. If you put it in water, fully submerged, it sinks to the bottom and it disappears in half a day, which is pretty.
There's been some good test results with that, and that again, that's another bit of the controversy. Is you know, you're absolutely right. You have to shoot, you know, with a plastic wad cup. You know, and we need to move to a bio. So do you want to remove lead from the environment, or do you want to remove plastic? We kind of have to choose, and we kind of need to try and do both. So again, more challenges, but again, you know, I'm confident that we'll be able to navigate past those.
All right. The next question is about the club itself. It's from Ken in Colorado. Is there still an effort to continue providing Dickson Owners Club members discounts on Dickson products?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I started the Dickson Owners Club at the tail end of last year. We had a kind of like launch at the beginning of this year, and the membership has been absolutely fantastic. It's been great to see all these people registering, showing me their Dickson guns from all over the world. However, I would have loved to have a real good get together this year with all the Dickson owners. We've obviously had some severe delays in obviously getting out membership cards and information for people due to the COVID-19 pandemic. To answer this question specifically, we absolutely, as part of that membership letter, you will be getting a list of the discounts you can have against our products and services at Dickson's, covering everything from merchandise to servicing your gun and buying a new one, indeed. So, or one of our vintage ones. So yes, we will absolutely be doing that. As part of that owners club, we wanted to get owners together as well. And I know, I'm working with you, Sean, on trying to do something in the US, as my plans were completely destroyed for this year. So there are absolutely plans for Dickson Owners Club members to get together in the US and in the UK. I had provisionally put something together for the Southern side-by-side event at the beginning in April of this year. As we know, that was cancelled and postponed, or cancelled, sorry. So for all our events that we're looking to have Dickson Owners Club members come to, we're just looking, unfortunately, now to postpone all of those into 2021. We had, I was trying to line up some here in the UK to coincide with game fairs and shows. But again, we're looking at postponing all of those into next year. So I'd absolutely love, to get back to the US and get Dickson Owners Club members together. But as soon as they lift the travel restriction, we will look at getting that up and running.
Yeah, and we're planning on sending an email out to everyone in the club, especially the people here in the United States, and just take a poll and see what they might be interested in doing, trying to get together. But when we have a related question, which is whether there's any place on your website to buy merchandise.
Okay, so we're developing a page that will be launched very, very soon, which is our merchandise page. We put tremendous effort into getting some practical and sort of memorabilia type merchandise together. I noticed you're drinking out of one of our coffee mugs, which we'll have on the site. And you may have seen posts on whiskey glasses and baseball caps, and we've got some workshop barbecue aprons, cleaning cloths, all snap caps, case accessories. We've got all sorts of stuff coming. We're just whilst we got some time out from the workshop, we are just putting that webpage together at the moment. So as soon as that's ready to go, I will send a message out to everybody that's registered some interest, because I've had a number of emails about it, saying that we're ready to go, and we'll have that up and running for you. I know people are desperate to get their hands on accessories and some merchandise, and we will get that sorted out for them. That's great.
We've got one from Chung Huang, who's asking whether you have any information on gun number 6655.
Okay. Yeah, I can certainly look it up, but I can tell you, I know that we don't have any information on that gun. It's dated 1916 to 1917, and if we go back to when we were talking about Dickson records, we have very scant records during the war years. So First World War, 1914 to 1918. There are some guns missing from those records, and that particular gun, 6655, is a side lock ejector, and it is not in our records. So unfortunately, we don't have any information on who ordered it and when we delivered it.
It's easy to understand in that time period that you would have scant records.
Yeah, I mean, all gun makers in the UK during the war years, their workforce was completely depleted, either with the men going to war or them on war contract work. And again, poor record keeping. That gun was not submitted into the records, and I think 6655 is a side lock ejector. So it's a bar action side lock ejector shotgun. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's all the questions that we have. We sent obviously emails to everybody. Everybody has JP's emails. If anyone has follow-up questions, you can send them to either of us. We'll make sure that they get to JP. And thank you, everyone, for taking the time on a Saturday to participate. And thanks, JP, for taking the time.
No, an absolute pleasure, Sean. Like I said, I love connecting with the Dickson owners and seeing their guns, sharing some information on their guns. As you said, you've emailed the Dickson Owners Club. My direct email address is in that email. So if anyone wants to talk to me about Dickson's, drop me an email and I can see if I can help.
Sounds good. Thanks. Say hi to Zoe and have a great weekend.
That's great. Thanks, Sean. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.